And the silvers, you know, y'all remember that, you know, the big afros. And then finally, then we were allowed to have an afro. And no sooner did we have an afro, people started straightening their hair. I wanted my hair straightened and still couldn't have it. You know, so I kept my hair in this tight French braids that still showed that you had a nice texture, but you couldn't straighten it. And, you know, I was sort of past the afro by then. By the time I came to an age where I was free to do what I wanted with my hair, first thing I did was, you know, go to the hairdressers and straighten it. I was asked to come to Seattle, Washington to work in a hair salon with some friends of mine. It was called Sun Ra Expressions. And what they specialized in was natural hair. And the reason they asked me to come was because they knew that I'd been working a bit now with straightened hair. And it didn't take long for me to get there and say, no, I don't want to do this. I like what you're doing. You know, and that's when a real turning point came, as far as how I wore my hair. Just my whole identity started to change. These people were definitely Afrocentric. I started learning about Africa, started learning about spirituality in Africa and, you know, and abroad. And I just started doing the things that they did, and I knew I had found my place in hair.
Every time someone asks me who does my hair, I say Veronica, ciandre, and everyone says, "Oh, Veronica." It's kind of like that, "Oh, Veronica," because she's, I think, established in almost everyone's mind as someone special. She's really friendly. She's really like a friend. And though I don't see Veronica a lot, in fact, I only see her whenever I have my hair done by her, she just really feels like a friend to me. She's really a creative person. She's very, I think, eclectic in her interests. She does everything. She's a musician. She's a hairdresser. She designs clothing. She sings and, you know, probably dances and whatever. Everything, and she brings really a lot of creativity to all of those things that she does. She just seems to leap right into everything. She's really open and honest.
Hair says a lot more about people than anybody realizes. I suppose because I do hair, when I, you know, I can almost read things about people by looking at their hair. So it does say something. It's sort of an expression of an inner part of oneself. You know, sort of what kind of stages they're at or what they're going through. Locks specifically symbolize a freedom. And that's a freedom across the board, whether it's internal or external. Freedom in the workplace, freedom of spirit. When someone comes through their hair, which is usually locks, I usually just try to create an atmosphere that's comfortable for them. Usually have some form of traditional music playing. Sometimes I'm burning incense, and just spend whatever hours or the day or whatever twisting their hair and talking. Usually my clients are artists, people who are free to be who they choose to be. Free to express themselves in any shape or form. Sometimes their image has something to do with what they do, like singers, people in certain forms of arts. Sometimes it doesn't. Often, the thing that connects us is a common perspective as far as Afrocentricity or African culture is concerned. By the time somebody has locks, they've decided we all came from one place. And I think that's one of the things a very important thing we have in common, is that we've all come from the same place and we're all basically going in the same direction.
Starting from the very first hairstyle that I'm really conscious of wearing probably were braids. Just little pigtails that my mother used to put my hair in every day. center part, one on either side with a bow. And then as I got older, I used to have my hair straightened with a hot comb. And it used to, you know, you have to wear it in rollers and tie it up at night and all that stuff. It was kind of a pain. Then I think the Supremes hit everybody in the eye with their wigs and stuff. At that point, I don't really remember what I used to do with my own hair because it was always under a wig, a long wig, you know, it came down and flipped up and all that stuff. But it always made me feel a little bit strange. One day, I guess, I just decided that I was going to wear an afro. I think a lot more black people were starting to wear afros at that time, though I hadn't really seen any in Toronto. And I remember, I think I went afro on the weekend and went into work, and I mean, just walking out of the building where I lived and getting onto the subway, you could just see everybody, you know, looking at you and wondering what that meant. I felt that they were wondering not how different my hair was, but what the difference in my hair meant. And I think there was a similar reaction at work. It was a company which had banned for a long time wearing pantsuits at work, which I also did. But it began to be more, I think, than I wanted to deal with after a while. And then I think I went through various chemical processes. I never had a Jherri curl, but I had, you know, perms of various sorts. I had my hair permed and then blow-dried so that it was straight. I liked the independence of the afro. I think I liked the fact that it didn't require me to change something about myself, that what I was presenting really was myself, I think, for the first time. This really was what my hair was like. And it just, I think it gave a certain amount of confidence. Having worn your hair as it really is, you can then make other decisions about what you want to do with it, based just on what you want to do, not that you feel that you're hiding something or trying to change it so that it fits in or meets with someone else's approval or the requirements of, you know, where you work. So it was freeing. And then I think after that I wore extensions, braid extensions. I wore those for quite a few years. And finally, going through that and having met Veronica somewhere in the latter hairstyles, came to realize that I really wanted to try dreadlocks. And the last time that I had braids in, I let them grow out so that my natural hair was, you know, quite long. I mean, quite long in terms of the usual state. You wouldn't let your braids grow out to 3 inches or so. And I let mine grow out that far. And then when I took the braids out, I had them twisted into locks. I have about, I think, somewhere around 125 or so dreads. And the reason that I know that or believe that's about the right number is because I went into dreads from having braids. And I know I was doing about 100 and some odd braids at the time, and as the braids came out, my hair was twisted into a dread, so each braid represented a dread. But I didn't feel it fall out. I just happened to look down on the floor, and there was one lying on the floor, and I looked down and I saw it, and the look of shock on my face was so extreme that it registered. I could feel the look on my face, and I was stunned. I didn't know what to do, and I picked it up and I looked at it, and it was, oh my God, what am I going to do? Are they all going to fall out like this? It never occurred to me that any of them would ever fall out, because it was seemed such a significant amount of hair to me. I just couldn't throw it away. It wasn't something that I could just pick up and toss. I think part of it is the fact that it takes a certain length of time, that represented maybe 2 years' growth. And I knew that whatever spot that came from, it was going to take 2 years before it was again that length. So maybe that's part of the fear of it. But yes, I do keep them, because maybe I'll have them woven back in or something. They're kind of nice to handle too. Locks are something that belong to the black culture. I guess I think of them because of where I feel I first saw them in a comic book about someone who was African. It makes me think of kind of the African culture, though I never really saw it anywhere else. I recently have found out that it is part of a movement that was begun in Jamaica. But then, of course, there is a very strong tie between Jamaica and Africa. So it still, I guess, occupies that kind of space culturally for me. I'm not wearing dreads to be black. Wearing dreads or not wearing them doesn't make me black. I'm black because I am black. But certainly, it's an aspect of having dreads that I really do like. I'm glad of it. I don't really feel that they identify me. I think that, if anything, they perhaps serve to question what my particular position or status might be in someone else's mind. Again, it's just part of something that I like to do with my hair. But I think when people look at someone with dreads, it's important for them not to think that they do necessarily identify. It doesn't necessarily mean that they can slot me into a particular position because of my hair, or because of my clothing, or because of anything else.
As far as, okay, there are people who might be on the same path that don't necessarily want locks. What I do is hair. So if I'm going to do your hair, and that's the direction you're going in, that's sort of my choice. It's not really, but yeah, I guess basically I don't do anyone that has straightened hair. Whether you're on the path or not, I don't do anyone that has straightened hair, jerry curled hair, unless it's you're about to make that transition, or it's a part of making that transition. It's important when we start to accept parts of ourselves, whether it's parts of our bodies, our thighs, our butts, our lips, our noses, our hair. It's all one thing, and it's an important step when you choose to accept who you are, and sort of remove all those curtains and say, this is me, deal with it, or don't deal with it. And the hair is a very important step, because especially with locks, it's somewhat permanent. So for me, it's exciting to be a part of that, The way I think of it is I would rather encourage a journey towards truth than continue a lie. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what it is to me. Because underneath it all, we all have, we have locks. So it's really a choice of what to do as opposed to not to do.
my current hairstyle is a wave nouveau. It's a curl as opposed to a perm. It's a chemical treatment that makes the hair soft and wavy, and it reacts to a spray and a gel and a finishing mist, and it's actually very dry, and the sprays and gels that are added to the hair after the treatment, they keep the hair pliable and springy. The wave nouveau perm I find, or curl, I find for me right now it's perfect. I used one called Leisure. It was a little more dry, even with the products on it. The hair was a lot drier and more prone to split ends, for me anyway. There are others, one that was called Clintex that I used, and again, it was, I think, well, the products were a little heavier. So for me, this is a nice curl, and the products that are used on it are nice and light as well. My hair was natural, so as a little girl my mother would plait it up, and that was a real torture, you know, braids, as the Western world says, braids. And then when I was still a child, my mother took me off to the hairdressers and I got my hair straightened. And that was fine, you know, it would be straightened on and off until I was in middle school. And I got sick and tired of the maintenance, you know. When your hair has a straight perm, every time you wash it, every time you want to do something with it, you've got to put curlers in your hair. You've got to put all kinds of setting lotions in your hair. You've got to, you know, like if you go swimming, then you've got to reset it. And every time you do something, you're starting from scratch, and it's like so much work. And I wanted my hair cut off, and I had it all cut off really short, like a boy. So it was just a very low, kinky, like an afro, but really, really low. And then I moved on to curly perms when I guess was about in university. And I've kept it in curly perms since then. Having kinky hair, at some point, it can be considered a problem. My hair was not just kinky, it was really thick. It used to break combs. I used to hate sitting down and having my hair all plaited up because it was like torture. And the day I first had my hair straightened was the day I discovered it didn't have to be a torture to get my hair combed. So, I mean, that was one special satisfaction I found out of it, was that it was easy to manage. Right now, there's a very, well, I don't know if I should call it a movement or anything, but I mean, there's Whoopi Goldberg and the fact that she wears her hair usually in locks, although lately she's done a couple of parts where she wore her hair straightened, The Long Road Home and Ghost, and she wore her hair straightened. But for a long time, you always thought of Whoopi Goldberg with the dreadlocks, and I think that's becoming more and more fashionable for people to realize they don't have to be a rebel to have dreadlocks. And they don't have to be making a militant statement to say, yes, this is part of my identity, and I'm going to use this as further expressing my black identity. Well, I mean, I think that you express your black identity the minute you wake up in the morning, go outside your door. You know, your color or your culture is relative to, I guess, who or what you express yourself with. So, you know, having my hair like this, culturally, I think it's only a small element. I would hope that it's who I am that expresses my culture and the person that I want to express. I think that I've made a lot of options for my hair based on my career. I think that perhaps if I weren't in the business that I'm in, maybe I would, I don't know, wear it shorter again, or do something radical with it, you know. But I have never really done anything truly radical with my hair. I've never gone to a real extreme hairdo, and I think that's because of my career. I feel that if I were to walk into an audition with braids and beads, I think that might limit what I'd be considered for. And I mean, maybe that's not a realistic thing, or maybe I'm not being brave enough. But I guess I play it fairly safe. I'm happy with the way my hair is, but I think I don't take certain risks. Well, my apartment is empty. We just moved into it at the beginning of the month. The man who lived in the apartment for 15 years was an invalid. He had heart problems, and it's a two-bedroom apartment, and he lived in the living room. He had rugs down. He couldn't help himself. I didn't know how he ate. I guess someone came in sometimes. But when he left, the floors were all black. The walls were filthy. There were bugs nesting in the curtains. We had to hire 3 women to clean. One cleaning company assessed starting at $310 to clean the apartment, and I wasn't prepared to have that as a starting price and not know where it was going. So we found 3 other women, and then we decided to do a lot of other stuff ourselves, like the floors. We were going to sand the floors, and then we realized that by stripping the floors and then re-waxing it, we maybe get a good color on it. And so we got all the black stuff off the edges. So it was pointless to bring furniture in, and on top of it, it still has to be painted, but the floor should be done first. So everything is like in one room, and this furniture is from a smaller apartment, so there wasn't any point buying or bringing in any new furniture. So here we are, with the polisher, the buffer over there in the corner. So as soon as this is all done, we have to put down coats of wax and buff it, and then paint. Yeah.
Cut.